Hello everybody, welcome to the newest episode of The Bearded Gamer Show. As always, I am your host, The Bearded Gamer, Chris Arnone. As you can see, the beard is definitely recovering from Movember and being banished to only a mustache. So, also want to take a moment to shout out to Fresh Baked Tees, people behind my wonderful Portal 2 themed t-shirt. Good news, bad news. Start off with a piece of good news. Now, most of you Xbox 360 owners by now have seen the brand new dashboard updates. Now, love it or hate it, what was really unnerving me about them is all the advertisements. It's like, I pay $60 a year for Xbox Live Gold, and now you're still shoving advertisements down my throat. You know, at least if I play Angry Birds, I can play the free version with ads, or pay and make them go away. That's how it should be. If you're paying for a service, you shouldn't be inundated with ads. I mean, the internet has taught us this for years, and yet there they are. Well, why did I say this is good news? Well, some handy-dandy gamers have figured out there's a way to block all of those ads. Now, it's a lot of this open DNS, custom IP address configuration stuff that I haven't tried yet and might be a little beyond my technical abilities, but I'll give it a shot a little later today. But the point is they figured out how to block them and get around them, which good on them. You know, I'm not going to cry any tears over Microsoft having people block out their ads because it's ridiculous. I'm paying you money for the online service. Don't try to sell me other crap, okay? Just stop. All right. Some good news-ish. Now, last week I talked about with the Sony PlayStation Vita how it was limited to only one PSN account per console. Well, now they've come out and said, well, that's not entirely true. The PSN accounts are going to be tied to the memory cards. So if you have more than one memory card, you can use more than one PSN ID. Now, first off, why didn't they tell us this earlier when this news first came out instead of just basically confirming that it was only one per console? And second off, I'm going to piggyback on earlier, I was saying how expensive these memory cards are. I mean, they're exorbitantly expensive. So I don't know what's going on with the Vita. I'm still excited about it. I think it's a cool piece of technology, but I have to take a deep breath and remember all consoles have weird, goofy quirks when they first come out that usually get worked out in the cycle, the life cycle as the console goes along. But like I said, this is good-ish news. At least you can use multiple PSN IDs. So like, you know, you're a married couple and you only want to buy one console and use it back and forth. You can do that now. Or if you want to get on your European account or your Japanese account, your North American account, you just have to own multiple memory cards. But at least it's possible. All right, finished off with a definite piece of good news. Now, I love Chrono Trigger, and I do mean that in every sense of that word. From back on the Super NES days, I owned this game. You know, back before there were game FAQs, before there were anything else, I mastered this game. I mean, mastered it. Got every different ending, had the, I think it's like rainbow armor and whatnot on every single character, which requires multiple playthroughs. I played this game so freaking much, all right? And every time it comes out on a new platform, I just get excited. Well, now it's on iOS for $10. That's just very exciting to me that wherever I go, Chrono Trigger can be with me for just $10. And it's going to have all those nifty DS features that were extras that were added on when they ported it over the DS. So very exciting news if you have an iPad or an iPhone or anything like that. Go buy it. It's Chrono Trigger. Why wouldn't you, right? Right? Okay. Controller confessional time. Now, a really big piece of news came out this week that has since sort of been retracted. Wired wrote up about Miyamoto retiring. This is the head guy behind Nintendo. And of course, Miyamoto has now come out and said, no, he's not retiring, that he was misquoted and whatnot, that really he just wants to make sure that the company is ready when the time does come that he retires, that he's healthy, he's got no plans to retire anytime soon. But it still brings the question, over the one day that everybody thought he was retiring, where does Nintendo go from there when this day inevitably comes? And this is something I've been thinking about really since back when he had a shareholder meeting where the shareholders were really distressed as to why Nintendo wasn't bothering to put anything on mobile devices like, you know, smartphones and tablets and whatnot. And Miyamoto himself, when he was the keynote speaker at GDC, he talked about how primarily Nintendo is a hardware company. They make software to support their hardware, but primarily it is hardware first. Now, even though they have this just epic library of first-party titles that are wonderful. I think it's a backwards way of thinking, the way that Miyamoto is running the company. And you know, they had this huge heyday with the Wii. It was just such a successful piece of hardware and technology that really reached out to everyone. And then the 3DS stumbled out of the gates, and I think it really caught them off guard. They were not expecting the 3DS to have such trouble right out the gates. And now it's doing a lot better now, since the price cut, since it's got a couple pieces of software under its belt that are unique to that console. It's doing better, but it's still not doing really, really well. You know, they keep talking about how many units they're selling, blah, 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 blah. But honestly, it's just in the PSP area. The PSP sold a ton of units over its lifetime. That's not how you measure console health. You measure console health on software sales. And nothing on the 3DS has really just exploded in numbers the way that some DS games have. Now, maybe it's because they should have made sure they had a Pokemon game lined up right from the get-go that was on the 3DS. That probably would have helped a lot, honestly, but they didn't. And it's, you know, like, I agree with the shareholders that why doesn't Nintendo put some of these huge first-party titles they have, Mario, Zelda, Metroid, so many of these on things like iPhone, Android, tablets, web-based games, things like this. They have these huge, huge franchises, but they say, no, 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 those are mine. We're only putting those on our hardware because we want to sell our hardware. It seems to be less about selling our games than selling our hardware. And recently, their stock prices have taken a hit because of this backwards way of thinking. So what I'm about to say is going to really piss off Nintendo fanboys, but I think, personally, Nintendo is going to keep stagnating a little bit like they're doing right now until Miyamoto moves on or he evolves to this new way of thinking. And it seems very apparent from his keynote at GDC, he's not going to be changing anytime soon. That, you know, as long as he's the head of that company, it's hardware first, software second, which, like I said, is backwards. The gaming world is changing all around us because of Facebook games, because of smartphones. It's changing. You can't help it. You can't stop it. You have to adapt. You have to evolve. The vast majority of software makers are already doing this. They're getting behind these new ways of distributing their games to go with the core versions. And you're not going to lose the core fans to smartphones. They're not going to stop buying your consoles because Mario is in a web-based game or on Facebook or on a smartphone. They're still going to go buy them because they're still going to want that button and joystick experience and that higher resolution experience. So that's my soapbox for this week. All right, guys, reviews roundup. Welcome to this week's Reviews Roundup, powered by Gamer Review. First up this week is another big, highly anticipated Mario title for the Nintendo 3DS, Mario Kart 7. Matt Ashbaugh got in gear for this one and said, "Retro studios have gone with the 'it wasn't broken, it just needed a tune-up' philosophy with Mario Kart 7. The series has always tried to thread the needle between being fair and keeping things unpredictable. The best player won't win every race, but the worst player won't constantly lose. It drives on the side of the road that rewards skill over luck 9 times out of 10. At its heart, the series wants everyone to have fun. Between this game and Super Mario 3D Land, my 3DS has gone from being an expensive dust collector to being something I never leave home without. It may not convert those that have already written the series off, but it will welcome newcomers with open arms and give returning fans that warm tingle in their driving sock. Mario Kart 7 is a game that showcases exactly what the 3DS is capable of and deserves a seat in your 3DS library." Matt gave Mario Kart 7 a 9.0 out of 10. Next up is another Mario title, but this time with his old rival Sonic, in Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games for the Nintendo Wii. Alex St. Amour stretched and warmed up for this one and said, "All in all, Mario and Sonic's latest Olympic adventure seems to take a few good steps forward with the Dream events and the more coherent London party mode, but several large steps back with data controls, Olympic events that were simply copied and pasted from the original, and a rubber banding AI that would make Mario Kart's blue shells green with envy. Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games is definitely not as easy to recommend as the first entry in the series was back in 2007. But if you're looking for a fun, nice, kid-friendly party game and don't mind the issues present here, then by all means, book that ticket to London."
Alex gave Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games a 7.1 out of 10. Snake is back, but then it's hard to imagine a year in gaming without him. This time, a few classic Metal Gear Solid games go HD with the Metal Gear Solid HD Collection for the PlayStation 3. Jake Weston got all sneaky and stuff and said, "The best thing about the Metal Gear Solid HD Collection and the Metal Gear franchise as a whole is how wildly different each game included is. Each of the 3 games perfectly sums up each era of the franchise. There is a bit of discontinuity from the lack of Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 4, integral aspects to the narratives of this collection's games, but the value of this package cannot be denied. Many gamers today may be skeptical of the rising trend of HD remasters of old games, but even if just a fraction of them are handled as well as the Metal Gear Solid HD Collection, then I'm all for it." Jake gave Metal Gear Solid HD Collection an 8.9 out of 10. Finally, we head back to the ring with WWE 12 for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Joseph Trotter oiled up and put on his latex underwear to review this slobberknocker and said, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times," wrote Charles Dickens, probably not envision it being used in the context of a console wrestling game. It is, however, the perfect way to summarize the experience of WWE 12. At its heart, it is a slick, sharp, aggressive wrestler of great intent and purpose. For the most part, it's a very enjoyable fighter, and I would recommend it for fans. However, it comes at a cost. It is undoubtedly infuriating and often unfair, with a poor career mode and some incredibly ill-thought-out features. In fact, some of the design decisions are mind-bogglingly stupid, ruining what would otherwise be an outstanding experience. Sometimes I love it, but more often than not I want to smash it apart into little tiny bits. There is potential here, but it's a long way from being the finished article and is definitely a missed opportunity. Joseph gave WWE 12 a 7.6 out of 10. Be sure to read the full reviews for these and many other games on gamerreview.vgcharts.com.
Alright, so I know I've sufficiently pissed off the Nintendo fanboys, and maybe even some other people as well, so I probably don't need to make this the burning question, but it is, and it's all over the industry right now. Everybody's talking about it. Even though he's not actually retiring, still everybody's starting to think, what happens when he does retire? What is that going to mean for the industry? So my burning question that I'm going to pose to you is, do you think Nintendo can recapture the magic, rekindle the flame, and get to that once hugely prominent place they were in the industry, with Miyamoto still at the helm, or will it have to wait until someone who can adapt and think about how the new world of gaming works before they get there? So which do you think it's going to be? Miyamoto, can he bring them back to that just crazy prominent place they were in, or is it going to have to wait until he really does retire? All right, let me know in the comments. You can put them down here on beardedgamershow.com, on Facebook, on Twitter, N4G. Every episode is up on there too. And let me know in the comments. I will read them all, and the best answers I'll read off next week right here on the show. See you guys later.